Hello, YouTube. So today we're going to make some predictions about what's likely to happen next in Ukraine. And we're going to start off from, what happened originally, which of course Russians were in Crimea already. Uh, they had Luhansk and Donetsk. Um, and initially they, of course, try and take the airport and they make rapid progress down here and rapid progress here. They break out across the isthmus here and okay within they fan out and they also come in from they advance towards Kharkiv and they basically take all of this and then they advance down these roads here, and they have a go at sort of surrounding Kiev, and that was all done, very rapidly, like within a week, and at that the whole thing just ground to a halt. Basically made no progress forwards after that, and a lot of it is the Ukrainians were very good at stopping them, and the Russians were woefully ill supplied and really weren't that motivated. Morale is actually a fairly decent thing in war. That if your troops don't want to be there and don't want to fight, battle's probably not going to go so well to you. So like a few weeks later, it's more a Russian withdrawal, but this is all pushed back. And this is all pushed back. And I think it was basically a matter of military necessity at the time that they'd had their troops on the front line, their armor, just getting shot up. So the guys who retreated out, they were in no real fit state to do anything. But, Russia said that they were going to mass all the troops down here. For a offensive in this region and presumably also pushing up from the south here. And that they've now had a couple of weeks at doing, and that has also made absolutely no progress. Now, this spells this is basically defeat for Russia. When your best effort, where you have 200,000 troops massed on someone's border, and not entirely a surprise attack, but it's that sort of general idea, and that stopped dead. And then it's like, okay, let's re-equip our troops for a much more limited offensive in this region here, and that stopped dead. What you got left? And so this is what is likely to happen. So, even at this point, all of this stuff around Kharkiv has been pushed back. And indeed, it's been pushed back in this region, which threatens the supply for all of this part here. And what's left is, okay, three quarters of the prime targets, so three quarters has been directly rebuffed twice by Ukraine. And if you take a look at the sort of footage that you're seeing, these Russian tanks are getting absolutely shredded. There's this footage of an attempted bridge crossing, and it's a tiny bridge crossing. It's a river like 20 meters wide or something. This is not a major operation, and the Russian destroyed tanks just litter the battlefield. These are completely unsustainable losses. This isn't like World War II, where you can just rapidly churn out these low-tech tanks that are, they're basically an internal combustion engine, a gun, and some sights. Now it's all high-tech stuff for tanks on the battlefield. And it looks like at the moment they're just being used as target practice. And so, when you had the fresh mobile troops cut to pieces, the reassembled troops essentially headbutt against a wall. Offensive operations are effectively, they're not over. Obviously, there are still things going on, but it is really unlikely that they're going to make any progress. And what, if I'm making forecasts as what's going to happen next, right? I mean, so obviously the Russian plan was ideally sort of cut Ukraine in half. That wasn't going to happen. So, then you go to a more modest operation like this, and even that's not working out. Well, maybe we can just make a little progress here. And I don't think they're even going to get that. You see, the main problem that the Russians have is the same problem that they had around Kyiv, that basically the mere fact that you're actually fighting a war in somebody else's country means that you need functional military hardware on the front line. And it ain't World War II anymore. Infantry with advanced weaponry will blow the crap out of tanks and helicopters if they're supplied. And this is where, you take a look at the war on the bigger front, and it's bloody obvious what's happening. So this is now the actual war zone. And on one side, you've got Russia, which is, an economy about the size of Italy here. And, most of it's, of course, Moscow, St. Petersburg, a few other decent-sized cities. And they blew all of their decent high-tech weaponry in the first two attacks. And, that's it. Basically, stockpiles are gone, and it's never going to come back. It's going to take them years to rebuild. Meanwhile, the advantage that Ukraine has, of course, is that, so Ukraine's here. Now, if they were just fighting with the weaponry that Ukraine had, this would be a real problem. But the thing is, they're not. They've got basically the entire of Europe is funneling advanced weapons in here, as is America. And at that point, it's, as long as they've got the weaponry, this is a war of attrition where the Ukrainians here, I mean, it is a proxy war, and the bodies are being supplied essentially by Ukraine, which kind of sucks if you're a Ukrainian. I know Ukrainians, and it's but all of this, of course, is actually being propped up by weaponry coming in. So in my prediction, what happens next is this attrition goes on until basically there's nothing else left to hold the line. The infantry weapon will quite happily take out tanks and helicopters, and even the Russians, even though they actually have air superiority, not great air superiority, in that the planes they send over do actually occasionally get shot down, and the planes are vastly more expensive and vastly more irreplaceable. To rebuild the Russian stockpile here, I reckon, decade probably. Meanwhile, it'll take the Western world a long time to rebuild the stockpile as well. The thing is that it's a numbers game. More stuff beats less stuff. So, then comes the question, well, what happens once the Russian lines have been atrophied away? And I think it's mostly going to be what happened around Kyiv is basically the Russians will have to retreat as a matter of military necessity. As for timeframes for all of this to happen, months probably, like 2 months, I would reckon. The mere fact that the Russians, they're still trying offensive stuff, it's just not working. Not surprising, none of the offensive stuff that they've tried has really had any purchase beyond the actual first attack. So what's left? If you don't fully man the front line, then obviously the Ukrainians will just advance. And if you do man the front line, you basically have to put your military assets onto the front line, and the Russians clearly don't have them. And you can say this with some certainty, as in, first of all, it was clear that what they had on the front line to begin with, they thought was proportionate, apt, a decent sized force to do the invasion. That was obviously a very poor assessment. And the thing is that, okay, having been caught with your britches down once, you now get redemption to show that you are competent in attack number 2, where, you know, you would mass all the armor that you need to, now that you know you're up, now you know the metal of your foe, that's your chance to put your next, if you like, your proper attack in, and that's just gone completely pear-shaped as well. So at that, it's likely to stagnate on the front lines, but of course, the longer it stagnates, the more arms are going to flow in from the west. Russia's got nothing to counter them with. You're basically just going to get shot up on the front lines until there is nothing left, and at that point, retreat becomes the matter of military necessity. Now, yeah, I've had some interesting conversations with guys at work who, you know, they don't put nukes off the table here. I'm not so sure. I mean, in terms of an offensive weapon, they're almost the only thing that, if you're just looking at the map sort of from a strategic level, the most obvious place. Let's see if we can get rid of this. Can we get rid of that? There we go. All right. Virtually all of the Ukrainian stuff has to come in through Dnipro. Is that the right one? No. There we go. Yeah. So this is the sort of hub for supplying stuff. So, you know, you destroy hubs, and this would have a large effect on this. But Dnipro is like a million population city. Crazy or not, I don't see Russia capping off nukes there. In terms of using them on, you know, tactical nukes on the front line, they're only really any good is if your enemy has massed all of its tanks in one place to push forwards. Yeah, then you can make sense. But other than that, nukes on the front line here, they do you no good. First of all, you can't so easily actually advance if you've nuked the front lines, and so yeah, I mean, if the enemy is massing armor in one place, then this makes sense. In fact, yeah, it's a sort of interesting thing that Russia is essentially trying almost World War II tactics here of just mass pushes of armor, and they're not working because, you know, Ukraine here has javelins, light anti-tank weapons, all that sort of thing. But the question comes is, well, okay, once the Russian forces are actually depleted like that, doesn't a simple tank push actually win here? As in, I really don't know what the status of Ukraine's anti-tank weapons is like. You know, you took a look at the invasion force here. They were struggling to keep their vehicles gassed and the tires in good working order. Would they have sophisticated light anti-tank weapons? I just don't know. But so yeah, I mean that's where I reckon this is going to go. It's going to be attrition for probably a couple of months, and then Russia will have to retreat as a matter of necessity. You know, there comes a point when you're attacking, yeah, you're on the offense. This is at the beginning. Russia is on the way up. It's on the offensive. At the moment, it's kind of neutral, well, what happens when you don't have anything left to hold the front line? I mean, it's you have to retreat as a matter of military necessity. So that, or uh, you have to have really motivated troops who are willing to fight to the last man. And I'm not so sure I see that with the Russian conscripts. Anyway, so those are some thoughts on what I reckon is going to happen next in Russia. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a thumbs up on it, and I will see you next time.